Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to part 1 of my Melodic House 2 Ableton template explanation. Basically, this template I've been creating live during my live stream session. It's every 2 Mondays. You can come around, participate, ask questions while I'm creating a track from scratch. And today we're gonna go over each track and each element, the MIDI, and see about how it's been made and why and how. And next week we will talk more about the arrangement, the global idea, the mixing and the mastering. Alright, so let's jump into Ableton and see how it sounds. Alright, so that'll give you an idea of the track. Let's first start with the kick. So the kick is going to be a classic 4/2-floor kick drum pattern with the kick on every beat. And to create the kick, actually, I've used one of the rack I made, which is called Raw Kick. It's just basically an operator preset with a bit of processing. You can grab this rack for free. I'll put the link in the description. Just kind of a nice 808 kick with a bit of click on as well. And I just had this kick punch rack with another rack of mine, which is also free. Basically, the idea of the rack is just to have some parallel processing. And on this parallel processing, you have some reverb and distortion, but very short GK reverb. And the idea is to just add a little bit of room reverb and in a very subtle way that you just kind of make the kick feel more in the room and not too dry. It sometimes helps as well to cut through the mix. Here it's enhanced the clickiness, so yeah. Then we go into the hats. The hats, you kind of have 3 layers. You have this one first, which is like offbeat. Very kind of metallic. Just to look at a nice delay is gonna give this da-ga-da effect. It's in 3 mode with feedback around 30% and dry wet around 30%. Here what I've done is basically kind of the same delay. I just changed the filter, but you can see the time is the same. The feedback and the dry wet is more or less the same. It's just in ping pong mode, so that means it's more like left right. But this is gonna add kind of an extra layer. So you can see as having your dry hat, then you add delay to add a layer of extra hat, and then another delay to add another other extra layer of hat. So the delay kind of act as if I was creating a new hat underneath. Obviously, it's a delay, it adds a lot of rhythm, a bit of reverb, and then I'm boosting here. I will come back this next week. It's more like a mixing purpose, just to enhance these hats, because you have different hats. I found it great to use EQ to enhance the sustain frequency for each hat, so this way they kind of stand up in the mix a bit more better than if it was without any EQ. You have a second hat. This is gonna be the hats you play from the beginning. Nice clicky and noisy hat. The pattern, you have one of the pattern I love to do with the hat. So you have to keep in mind you have the kick here and here. So what's happening is, so you have a very crescendo things, and then here I repeat again the same pattern, but I add another strong one just before the next kick, so it gives a nice groove. So here what we have is again, this EQ to accentuate the second frequency, like I was saying before, a bit of delay. Delay on hats is always good to add a bit of groove and an extra layer, like I said before, a bit of reverb. So this is a stereo with, it's a hat effect. It's automated because at the beginning it's centered, but then when you have other hats coming into the mix, I activate it and therefore make it stereo. You can see here it's very stereo. Compared at the beginning where it's pretty much mono, and then it's just a gain automation for the intro and the rest of the track. Then finally we have this kind of shaker. I use a loop from a sample pack of mine and I just process it a little bit. Overdrive gonna make it a bit more crispier. Reverb just to make it a bit less dry. And here again, I have accentuated certain frequencies, so it helped to pop up in the mix. And yeah, so we have more like our subtle hats here. Then we have our very metallic offbeat hat. And then we have more kind of a driving shaker. And they all have this different purpose. Okay, then we have different percussion. We have this clap, which I kind of use as a percussion with a simple pattern. And I just add a bit of delay and reverb as well. This I felt you add a nice organic texture to the track at some point, add variation, and it works well with the clap that will come back later on. So then we have this Perc 2, which is like bongo, conga, tumba percussion. So this I didn't realize, but actually this rack is not available even in the live suite. You have to pay for it, but if you get the template, I will freeze the track so you still have the sound, but you can still get the MIDI pattern. And yeah, speaking of, this is the MIDI pattern. I don't really have tips about creating Perc pattern. It's always like trying. I usually try with the push, see what's work, and it's depend of the track obviously and the rhythm. Yeah, then I just process it a little bit. Bit of reverb. Drum bass. I like to use drum bass for different reasons. First, it's good glue compression kind of synced because you compress the reverb and the dry signal all together. It's kind of glue well. Crunch is gonna add some mid-high frequency, which is very great. And I tame, if it's had too much harsh frequency, I tame it with the damp. And transient will kind of act as a gate and kind of reduce the tail of the reverb. And then an EQ, this is more mixing. I will come back to it next week. And then I have a clap. So EQ, boost this frequency, bit of, and that's our drums. So then we have our bass line, which sounds like this. So the MIDI pattern basically is gonna follow the chord progression that we're gonna come back to it later when we talk about the chord track. But yeah, it goes E1, C1, then A0, and then back to C1. The sound as well, I use drift. I really like to use drift for bassline. First, I really like this waveform, which is very specific to drift. It's kind of a Moog sawtooth in a certain way. If you have the shape at 0, it's more kind of a triangle. But then when you put the shape at 1, it's more like a kind of a nice sawtooth. And then it's going through a low pass filter, a 24 dB. And then it's nothing crazy. The attack, just a little bit of attack just to don't have the click, but then sustain maximum, not too much release. The classic mono sound. One thing I like to do with drift for bass is you have this mono mode, and here you have this thickness parameter here that allowed you to add some lower harmonics and frequency. So you're gonna see without. I just love it. And then a bit of reverb. Just get a bit of stereo and avoid the bass to be too dry. I put everything under 120 in mono, a bit of sidechain. Obviously very important for the groove. It adds a lot of groove. It's let the kick obviously cut through the mix, but it's mainly for the groove. These pumping effects work really well. And then I just have an EQ with ready to cut everything above 270 because it wasn't really necessary. And here I boost these frequencies because you have 4 notes, and basically if you see for this note, basically what's happening, why I boost here, because C1 is kind of less powerful, it resonates less, especially if you listen with a speaker who got a bit of low end or with a subwoofer. You will hear how this note doesn't make your wall shake as much as the two others. So I use this EQ and this bell just on this specific frequency, which is 65 Hz, which is the C1 note. So that way it kind of accentuate and kind of balance a little bit. You can use a compressor if you want to kind of glue the dynamic, everything, but I feel like with the EQ was working the best here, so yeah. And yeah, very narrow Q because I don't want to impact the other frequency, which is very close to it. So yeah. Now it goes into the chords, which is basically the backbone of the track. It's our main chord progression. It's our main sound. So the chord progression, I basically use a Max for Live device called Chordomatic. I made a video about it already a few years ago. It's a really great device if you have push because you can select a scale and then you have all of the chord in that scale that appear on the push, and basically you press one pad and it's playing a full chord. So that's pretty handy to come up with a chord progression. Here you have basically F major, but you also have E, which is an octave upper, and which without, this is our F major and with the E on top. Very nice. Here's the same. We have a C major with D inverted and an octave upper, which without sound like this. And here we also have a F major. The only thing is because this note here is inverted, so if you bring it back up an octave upper, you got your F 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So you got your F major again, and then again a C major. So I'm really not the best to explain music theory, so I might have miscalled some of the chord. On the end it sounds like this. And what I've done is I use arpeggiator in the chord mode with the groove straight and the rate at 16. But the great thing is with the sidechain as well is getting this. So then it's basically I use electric. I might have used, yes, one of my presets I created, which is called electric key, but yeah. I'll just show you the parameter if you wanna copy exactly all what it's about. Yeah. Low pass because I want it to be really muffled. Then I use this delay with a lot of drive. You see I use the input drive, so I crank up the input a lot into the delay, so like this and activate the drive, so like this is add some nice drive, and it's kind of a dub delay because the delay signal is kind of filtered. You have a bit of reverb. I really like the character that this device adds to it, and then a bit of reverb to obviously accentuate the. So here I use the convolution reverb, and I use the input response called Sulak up, left, right from real place. A bit of EQ, accentuate the stereo. But yeah, sidechain. And then this was the mixing purpose. Just to make space for the rest. And that's basically our main backbone of the track, basically. And you can hear the bass is following the chord progression. Alright, then we have chord 2, which follows the same chord progression, same trick with the arpeggiator. Here it's less pronounced because it's a longer sound, but you get the idea. I use this chord device, which basically is gonna keep the chord playing at the normal pitch, but also layer it with the same chord but playing an octave upper, so that makes the sound way much richer. And then you have the same waveform done for the basses, like the Moog Sotus with the shape at 1, going through a low pass filter 24 dB, bit of resonance. There is nothing crazy in terms of modulation. Again, it's just even the envelope. It's like a classic sustain up with not too much release and a bit of attack to don't have too much click kind of envelope. And then here you can see I have the LFO, which is slightly modulating the pitch a bit like a vibrato. It's very subtle. One of the things here is I use the stereo mode, which is great because it's gonna spread all of you chord all over the stereo field. Then a little bit of EQ. This is mixing purpose. I will come back to it next week. A nice ping pong delay with the time at 3. 40% feedback, 30% dry wet, bit of reverb. and reverb. Again, the same preset, real play, so like just to put it into a nice space. Sidechain, and yeah, together with this chord 2 was really to complement the chord 1. You can hear like this one is a bit more mono, the chord 1, and the chord 2 it's a bit more stereo. And yeah. They complement perfectly each other. Alright, then we have ARP that I kind of use not as the main lead but as a second lead, which is playing always the same chord. You have C2, C an octave upper, or C3 and G, and the ARP is in up mode, rate 16. It's a kind of a basic patch. Again, the same sawtooth waveform with the shape at 1. Goes into the oscillator 1, crank up the gain so like this, it overdrive the filter, it drive the filter. And we have here a low pass filter, 24 dB, and we're gonna bring down the filter. And the idea is to modulate this filter with a short envelope, so this way it's open quick, the filter. So it just let pass a little bit of the transient, and that's what creates this nice plucky sound. So you can see here I have the filter modulating with envelope 1, which is also my amp envelope. And we make a plucky envelope by bringing down the sustain to the minimum, having a short decay and a short release, just a little bit of attack to don't have too much clickiness at the beginning. And yeah, another thing here, we also have this kind of vibrato. It's very subtle, I must reckon. And yeah, just then a bit of drift, so it's very just a little bit for that analog feeling. And yeah, then it goes into the utilities just to kind of slightly pan more a little bit on the left. And then we have this echo, which is again in ping pong mode with the rate at 3, 40% feedback, 30% dry wet, and with the reverb as well from the echo. The same reverb as well. And then EQ for mixing, but nothing crazy about this. The idea was to really create this hypnotic feeling a little bit, having this same kind of short melody repeating over and over and over. Here I use it as well, really to kind of bring up tension and release. It's kind of so like a lead, kind of a multi-purpose synth. Really great, playing almost the whole track. And speaking of this kind of hypnotic or loopy kind of synth, we have this key, which is exactly what it does. This is a pretty simple pattern and sound, but it's pretty effective. It's very good to do. Dun, dun, dun. It's a preset from the Collision, which is kind of imitating a marimba. Saturator to kind of with the hard curve to add a bit of grid. Ping pong delay in time 3. Quite a big reverb I add. Bring down the gain. Oh yeah, it's at the beginning. This is automation on the gain, is just to introduce the sound at the beginning, and again, quite a drastic EQ. This I will come back to it next week when I talk about mixing. The thing is, usually I don't do that much, but this track had a lot of elements, so I have to be very kind of surgical with the EQ and make space for each element. But yeah. This is really the type of sound. It's not like something you will especially notice at first. It's not something like it which is like especially necessary. But the great thing about this type of sound is first kind of add a harmony and kind of make everything a little bit more glue and homogeneous. And the pattern as well, which is kind of simple but kind of hypnotic as well, really help the track to be carried around. And this special pattern as well, pretty simple but pretty straightforward, really can be used kind of as a backbone, as a support as well in terms of rhythm, and create this kind of hypnotic feeling that the loop is never really finishing and it's always continuous, and yeah, just work well. All right, now we're gonna have, which is kind of our lead, even though I feel like there is not that much main lead on this track. It's a little bit of everything, which is taking the same chord, I just like kind of slightly shift to make it a little bit more like a real piano. I add as well this velocity to kind of add a bit of randomness in terms of velocity to don't be always the same intensity and to avoid to sound too mechanical. This pack is by default with Ableton is the grand piano, is this preset grand piano harp sweeper. I think I just remove this 2 layer because it was annoying. I mean, I like it first, but it was annoying after. So yeah, just a classic piano sound. And yeah. Alright, so that was kind of our main lead element. Then I wanted to add a piano, but a little bit. This was kind of trying to find the lead, but then after I kind of use it as kind of similar way than the key and the harp, having this very small repetitive pattern that kind of get this hypnotic feeling and help with the global harmony of the track as well. This is probably something I found live playing with the push. With a bit of overdrive. To really add this nice grittiness. EQ. Slightly panning to the right. Bit of reverb. The reverb is the same preset I use all the time. Yeah, really like it. All right. And finally, one of the main things we have is our string section. So here I kind of screw up as well because I use a pack that is not available for free. I didn't realize when I was using. I used the string quartet by Spitfire Audio. I thought it was included in the suite version, but actually it's the orchestra string. So you might be able to get a similar string sound. The first layer of strings is kind of more like a kind of pad acting. It's follow again the same chord progression, and you can see you have again this chord device, so it's gonna play at the chord at the normal pitch. And then the same chord's gonna play on top of that 1 octave upper and another one 2 octave upper. So you get a really rich sound. A lot of reverb. So here I've used a low pass filter to kind of introduce the sound during the break. So this is kind of my pad sound. I use string instead of a synthesizer. Then I have this string 2. Which is again the same preset. You can see playing at a lower pitch. So all these strings you kind of have to see it like kind of as orchestral kind of arrangement, but they each play at a different frequency range or part. And this one I was almost to remove it, to be fair, because the mix is pretty rich. But I felt it adds something. To be honest, I feel like it's almost the same purpose than the Chord 2. You see that the Chord 2 is here to support the Chord 1. And I feel the same. I feel like the string 2 is here to support string 1. Yeah, it just sounds great on the track. It is very subtle, I reckon, but I always felt, I swear I wanted to remove it and I was like, no, something is missing, so yeah. And so here is a string FX, so here. they play way much higher pitch, so you can hear, and they don't play the whole chord. So this kind of accordic string SFX is just coming as a, I don't know, as a FX like this. It kind of answers the piano because you have first the piano chord playing, and then after you can hear these strings who arrive and play as well, because it's not completely sustained a full note, it goes and left. So yeah, it kind of works well that way. All right, and then finally I have again the same preset, which is playing kind of following the chord progression, E, D, C, G. This is really fun to play with the MPE because you can, I don't know if you heard, but it was a bit of pitch bend as well, so it's very nice. And yeah, just this add some final variation. I wanted for the last part of the track to add something new and fresh. So yeah, all these packs that are not available in Live Suite, even if you don't have them in the template, I freeze all the track. So like this, you still have the audio, you still have the MIDI. And then finally, I add some ambience noise. This is mainly for the beginning of the track because I felt at the beginning of the track it was missing something if I was not putting noise. So this is without noise. It kind of just not fill up the blank, but kind of help everything to be glued together. Yeah, and fill up the blank as well. It just kind of make everything more cohesive. Obviously, during the rest of the track, you almost don't hear it. I could have removed it, to be honest, but it's just that subtle that I had just left it. You can hear it a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it about each track. Now everything is going into a Mixdown. I use a Mixdown and don't go straight away into the master because I use this track basically to send the whole mix into some return for some SFX. So that's why if I was sending everything to the master, I couldn't send the master to the return because otherwise it's creating a feedback loop because you send your master to the return, but then the return are going to your master and create a feedback loop. So I create this Mixdown track, which is basically kind of a pre-master track, we can say. And all my tracks are sent to this track, and then this track is going to the master, and I can send my whole mix to the return, and the return are going to the master, and the Mixdown is going to the master as well. So yeah, in terms of return, let me show you. I have this. It's a rack I made. I put it in the description. It's just reverb and compression. It's kind of a washout effect. Basically, it's just gonna send your whole mix into a lot of reverb, and what it's gonna do is gonna create big messy noise. But because you automate the send, it's gonna be just kind of a burst, and it's gonna kind of create SFX for you. So you don't have to create or find SFX. It just creates SFX like this. So you're gonna hear. You hear this. And the second one is the same. It's a kind of a pitch return. I use this on single element. For example, on the key, it's very nice. It's a basically what it is, it's a kind of a delay with reverb, but also you have this pitch arc, which you can use to pitch your sound, but you can use as well the reverse, which is gonna just reverse the signal. And so it's really nice because you have this reverse effect that I use as well for transition along the track. I use it on the harp as well. You can gonna hear it here a bit more. And in the context of a track, very nice. It saves you time because you don't have to make SFX or whatever. Just work well for this track. And then finally our master, that we'll come back to it next week. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Next week we talk about more the track ID, the ID behind the track, the arrangement, mixing and mastering. If you want to grab this template, I'll put it in the description. It's a great way to support me. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2 next week. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.